Hi guys, and welcome to the Shrewsbury Biscuit podcast. I'm Alex Whiteley, and today we've got a really cool episode for you. This episode happened within a couple of days of planning, and I did mention at the beginning of the feature this, so you'll hear this again, but Claire Pocock for putting this together, absolute rock star. Thank you so much. We're coming to you today from Telford Exotic Zoo. Speaking to the owner, Scott. We hit it off really well. It's really cool. Feature interview. We'll explain all of that. A quick little note. We went to the Independent Podcast Awards last night in London. An amazing night. Met so many amazing people. Finally got to meet my podcast OG. I call him my pod father, Mr. Ant McGinley, which is really good. My wife came along with me. We had a really, really good night. Unfortunately, we didn't win the award, but I met so many amazing people who were genuinely impressed with the amount of work that we've done with the Shrewsbury Biscuit and quite inspired by the work that I do, which I didn't expect. So just to be there in that room full of those amazing creative people was fantastic. So thank you to everybody that's shown us support. Thank you to the team at Apple that spent a bit of time with us. And thank you to the staff at the Independent Podcast Awards. We'll be back next year. You listeners will know I've got a bit of a cold, that's why I'm a bit sniffly, and I sound a bit like Barry White today. Listeners of this podcast will know it's been a bit turbulent. I haven't been very consistent this year, and that's because I've explained before, changing jobs, things like that. It's been some inconsistencies in my life which has affected the show, but there's going to be a huge effort going forward to just make that a bit more stable. Starting with, from next week, I've got something called the Biscuit Board. It's a Biscuit Board. It's basically just a few days before I release a podcast, I'm going to put up the Biscuit Board. Gives you an opportunity in the comments to shout out an event, a thing, a person, a birthday, anything like that you want to interact with the show. It doesn't matter if it doesn't get any comments, but if it does get the odd comment, I'll read it out on the podcast. This gives you an opportunity to communicate to others through the show, and it gives me an opportunity to reach out and offer you guys a bit of support. This show is all about giving you people a voice, and that's what I'm really, really passionate about. So the Biscuit Board will be about from a few days before, so let's say Sunday, on the Friday before next Monday's release. So look for the Biscuit Board, get your comments in, and I'll get them read out on the show. Right, on with this episode then. This is Scott from Telford Exotic Zoo. They're doing some cool stuff for Halloween, and I think initially I was meant to go there to promote their Halloween stuff, but me and Scott hit it off so well that I think this is going to be like chapter 1 of volume 1 because we come up with so many ideas and so many plans that we could do, starting off with fossil hunting. I mean, like, this guy's incredible, and he's like, you can see the ideas, you can see the cogs turning in his head. He's such a creative person, like myself, and when a creative meets another creative, that's when dangerous things can happen. So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, this is Scott from Telford Exotic Zoo. Enjoy. I'll catch you guys at the end.
My stuff's very organic. It just flows. Just goes with it.
This does feel very professional. I like this.
Yeah, I know, and we're in your gaff as well. So we've taken your gaff and turned it into the Biscuit Studios just for a day.
Yeah, we got our tea. What more do we need?
We got biscuit tea. Cheers.
Biscuit tea. Cheers. Man.
Cheers.
Have you tried this before? Have you had this?
No, I never had biscuit tea before.
Well, I felt like it was right up your street.
It actually tastes like biscuits. Mm-hmm. That's weird. It's like a rich
tastes
tea.
like you've dropped a digestive in the bottom of it or something.
That's amazing. Shrewsbury Biscuit and biscuit tea. It goes really well, actually. I'm going to have to take some of these tea bags around with me.
See, don't say that I don't look after my guests.
You've looked after me well today. The staff over here have been amazing. So we're coming from Telford Exotic Zoo. And I want to, first of all, Claire Pocock from Shropshire Festivals, a long-time friend, great. I've done loads of great work with Shropshire Festivals anyway, but Claire as a conduit, as a go-between, and as a liaison, as a great friend. Thank you for setting this up. She's a rock star, she really is.
Thank you, Claire.
And speaking of rock stars, Scott, that's where your background is. That's where you come from originally. Like let's go back.
Okay, let's go back.
Where are you from originally? Where are you?
So Telford born, Telford bred, lived here all my life. All my family lives here. Mm-hmm. So the fact that I've kind of set up Exotic Zoo in Telford is because it's my hometown, and I was very passionate about that. So
yeah, because you could have taken this anywhere, couldn't you?
I could have taken it anywhere, and we've had to move a couple of times over the years. So there's always been opportunities to take it somewhere else, but that's not where I was at. It was always about being in Telford, and supporting the community as much as we can as well.
Big fan of your music? Let's talk about that. I mean, the reason why I think it's important, because you were like, do you mind if I talk about industry? Like, creativity is very important. Like, if you're a creative person, I almost feel like creatives are a different breed of human being, because they just work. I think we work differently. The mindset's different,
Yeah, 100%. I mean, like, I think it's crazy that we live in a world where, our kids have to go to school and learn them set few things when people's brains work so differently. So, when I was at school, the only thing that I enjoyed was being creative and doing music and stuff like that. And that was really important to me. All the rest of the stuff, that didn't suit me very well. I did it, but it wasn't my bag. If I could have spent more time being creative and stuff, it could have opened even more doors for me. So, that's definitely something that I'm passionate about.
It's finding that balance of being creative and putting food on the table, because it's a cliche thing, isn't it, where like young girl sits at the dinner table, says she wants to go to art college, dad goes no because you need to be a lawyer or a doctor. There's one of those things where you don't see things as podcasts or rock music because it is. I mean, it's like 1.2% of the world or something will go on and do that and make money out of it. But at the same time, those creative vices, they're important to us, aren't they?
I think it makes you who you are as a person. And hey, only a small percentage of them people will go on and do that professionally and be famous or make loads of money out of it. But the people that don't, they'll have still had that amazing experience in life where they've got to take control of their lives, be creative and do something that they love. And then maybe that might spur them on to maybe not do exactly that, but still think, this is really important to me, doing something that I love. And then they'll chase another career that they really, really love. And, I think it's...
Yeah. So what did you do with music? Where did it take you around? You said you travel around the world, right?
Yeah, man. So I've kind of had two fantastic lives, really. When I was younger, I was actually, believe it or not, I think quite shy when I was younger. And then I got into music at school, started playing guitar, started singing, met a great group of friends that were all, a drummer, a guitarist, a bass player. We started a band, and that was my life. And it brought me out of my shell. It turned me into the person that I am today, give me the confidence and all that kind of stuff. And that took me through school, then through college with them. Then we left college, we got a record deal, we started touring, did the classic years living in a beaten up van that we had to sell and get a new one every 6 months. Sleeping in freezing cold vans, waking up with hangovers and trying to remember where you were. And then we went on from there, signed decent record deals. We did a lot of stuff in America and stuff like that.
What was the band?
We were New Breed, and then we turned into Envy of the State a little bit further along the way. So you can put a link to one of our music videos in your...
What might
I'll show you in a bit.
Have you ever got your permission to use a bit of your music? We could do the intro with that. I can do. There's a great song by Weezer called Heart Songs. I love. It's on the Red album. And it's really beautiful. And the listeners, I encourage you to go and listen to it, because talks about the songs that Rivers Cuomo listened to when he growing up, then the music that they wanted to listen to, and then he talks about how I think it talks about there's a baby on the cover of the album, so it's got to be Nirvana, isn't it? That kind of inspired them to go on and do their thing. And now Weezer are still smashing it. I love. They're one of my favorite guilty pleasures because they got a song for every occasion. So the music career for you, when it ends for you, well, I say when it ends for you, that sounds like Simon Cowell. It's ended for you. When it kind of peters out into becoming like, I got to do real world things. What's that as a realization for you? What was that as a moment for you in your life? How did it end, for example?
Yeah. I mean, as we kind of got older, we'd spent say 10, 15 years on the road trying to get to a certain place, which, like you said at the beginning, it's kind of like that dream, becoming a rock star, a movie star, a famous podcaster, that kind of stuff, So many people that are amazing at it. And when I was on tour, we were always touring with bands that nobody will have ever heard of, but they were probably better than most famous bands. So it's not always about the best bands get famous. It's the ones that have that little lucky...
It's about what's sustainable. How much are you earning enough to live off? You're a musician. Okay.
That's the thing, It's almost like 99% of people in the music industry don't earn enough to survive off, and then that little 1%, they make it and earn more money than they need, but everybody else is still...
I think it's all an illusion, though. 30 Seconds to Mars, they made that really cool... what was it called? They made a documentary, and it's about how they were getting sued for refusing to do an album. And so the label were like, we're going to sue you for 30 million. And they were like, well, we've earned nothing. Like, they showed the receipts. They were like, we owe money after our first album. How can you say that you're going to sue us for 30 million? And that was like the music industry. So I think it's a bit of an illusion. And I feel like we were just talking about, I was mentioning Ren on this podcast. I was talking about Ren. There's lots of, there's a big movement of independent music at the moment.
Yeah.
And that's really incredible, that there are so many people. It's not obviously not a new thing. People have done it before, but like there's this movement where independent artists are now sort of taking it back for themselves, and that's
and it is a totally different world nowadays. You know, when we were on the road, you kind of needed the record deal, you needed the PR company, you needed the publishing deal, and all that kind of stuff, because you didn't have the online stuff that you have nowadays. Like nowadays, you can, if you want to, you can take it into.
If you can make hands. It on YouTube or TikTok, I mean, TikTok is mad. I don't think people could become super famous with what was that band? Was it Air that had that song that was just getting played on all the clips on is Air? Yeah, it's Air. They were getting played on all the videos and TikToks, and all of a sudden these bands become mega famous from TikTok. And I was like, what? These are like 15-second videos. How's that impossible? But yeah, it's how people consume content these days. But yeah, it's a fickle industry, the music industry. And then, have you always been like an animal person? Is that something you grew up like doing?
Yeah, 100%. So kind of like the creative side was always a big part of me. So obviously the music, creative. But then as I was growing up, do you know what I mean? I always hear stories from my parents, like every time I come out of the garden, they'd always have to stop me at the back door, check my pockets, because I was always trying to smuggle in worms or beetles or something to my bedroom to look after and stuff like that. So I've always had a very... I've always been at one with animals, do you know what I mean? I'm very calm and relaxed around animals. I work with them very well, and because animals feed off, you know, they can tell how you feel about it and all that. So that's always been something that I've been very, very at one with, and I love being around animals. So I guess as I was coming out of my one career that I loved so much and was, you know, such a big part of my life, you know, I'd lived with my 4 best friends, you know, most of my life up to that point, you know, going out basically like a night out, but for your whole life. So, you know, thinking about what would come after that, when you've got such a, you know, I've got such a busy creative mind, it's kind of quite a scary thing coming out of that. I'm thinking, oh, what's next?
That is, it was a School of Rock, is it Dewey, where he's just on the couch and he's just like, I don't know what to do with my life.
Yeah.
And his meal ticket falls in his hand, you know, it's like, that doesn't happen like that, does it? You know,
it doesn't happen like that, no.
And that's cool. I mean, I remember making like makeshift terrariums out of like giant Coke bottles for snails and stuff, you know, finding grasshoppers up on you know, there's a place in Dorley, Mallinsley, behind the trees, and there's like a little makeshift castle. But there was always like tall grass around there when I was a kid, and we'd go and get grasshoppers and we'd make like terrariums out of that and catch the grasshoppers. That was quite cool. I mean, that's like a young thing that people used to do. I don't know if the kids do that these days.
I'm not sure. Do they go outside nowadays? I'm not 100%
My son, I'm like, get out the house. Like, you got a BMX there. Go and refresh that around the estate. You know what I mean?
In pristine condition.
Yeah. We bought him a bike. I think he used it 5 times, and I think spiders used it more than he did. And that's why I love what you've got here. I mean, I feel like, and I don't mean to sound negative, listeners, I'm really sorry. And I feel like there seems to be an increase in apathy with young people, especially when it comes to animals, and people that are less off than them, especially when it comes to social media. I've seen a lot of nastiness. And I know working on the Rough Sleeper team for a year, that there's lots of groups of young people going around and terrorising rough sleepers, and there's lots of nastiness going on we're seeing on social media. And I feel like it's got to start from somewhere, from there, when they're young, when they're seeing, like, you know, everybody loves the meerkats, you know, you see a meerkat and watching how they sort of bond as a family and stuff like that. Maybe it helps rewire a bit of empathy in you as a young person. I don't know. Yeah,
I think, you know, I've always had a lot of empathy and all that, and I feel like, you know, I always look around me and I always want to know how people are feeling, and I want to kind of be part of, you know, making sure it's a positive thing. And I do think that's from like being around animals and the work that we do here, working with groups of like children, lots of hard to reach groups and stuff like that. You know what I mean? It does instill empathy in you. And, you know, if you see all the good things and you see how people can benefit from, you know, education, animals and stuff like that, it kind of spurs you on and makes you want to be part of it and, you know, push it and do it more.
When's the moment that you think, I want to do this as a thing? Was there a moment where were you collecting animals yourself and think, oh, I've got too many animals, could open up a zoo, like we all say? I mean, how does that start? Like,
So yeah, I guess once I come out of there, I did keep animals as a hobby at home. Reptiles was something that I was really into, snakes and lizards, and then like inverts like tarantulas and stuff like that. I was really interested in that side. And back then, it was kind of like a bit more unusual. It wasn't really mainstream like now. They sell corn snakes at Pets at Home and stuff like that. It wasn't like that back then. So I guess. I'd always been the unusual one in the family. He's in a rock band. Oh my God! Now he's got snakes as well.
Oh, it's Ozzy Osbourne. Yeah.
So that was kind of my thing anyway, and I was doing that. So when I come out of the band thing full time, it was kind of in the back of my mind that I wanted to do something with animals, and not really thinking I want to open a zoo. I was more thinking on the lines of working with animals in education, in therapy, working with kids and adults with learning disabilities and the health benefits that interaction and education through there, and can break bonds with people with negative behaviour and stuff like that. It can actually have such positive.
Over my years with the Biscuit, I've learned so much about grounding and sort of how sort of nature can really help with like social media anxiety. So I'm just adjusting my microphone whilst live on the thing, because that happens. And I feel this. I feel that when I'm out in nature, that my stress levels drop massively. I've always promoted sort of cold showers with my kid in the morning, not in a weird way, in a way that it's a dopamine hit, and I stopped doing it. And my son came out of the shower this morning going, "Oh, just had a nice cold shower." And I was like, "Oh, did you?" So I was like, "Oh, let's do that again." Yeah. It's just like, I feel like nature. I think that's what it replicates, is that being out in nature is, when you're with animals. I don't know what it's about snakes though with me. We grew up in a house full of snakes. I think we had 6 snakes at one time, and we had this one rainbow boa, a bit of a knob, and bit me 3 times on separate occasions, and I don't know why, because I didn't bite anyone else. Maybe it just didn't like me. I don't know, but all the other snakes were fine.
Maybe it was your aftershave.
I don't know, but and it was the same spot as well. There's always that. So maybe that part of my hand reminded of a mouse or something. I don't know, but it was 3 times I got bit by a snake, and I was like, do you know what? I ain't having any more of this. You clean your own snakes out and stuff, But you got to take those risks when you're looking after animals like that.
Yeah, unfortunately, when you work with animals every day, bites are definitely part of the process.
So you've got reptiles in your house and what have you?
So actually now I don't.
You don't?
No. So kind of went through a transition where, because I enjoyed being around animals, I'd have animals at home. Then eventually, once I started, first of all, we opened up an education centre, which was not open to the public, but that's where we did all our education, all our animal therapy. So then there was a home where the animals could be, but in bigger, better themed enclosures and stuff like that. And I kind of started to realise that maybe I don't want to be looking after animals all day and then go home really tired and then look after animals all night.
Makes sense.
So now there's just me and my little dog Pedro at home, and then when I come to work, then I get to obviously be around all of the amazing and unusual animals that we work with here at Exotic Zoo.
Where did the zoo first open? Where was the first location?
So the first location was a big industrial unit in Donington behind Asda.
Okay.
And I was basically just young, just out of the band, and I was like, right, I know what I want to do. I want to set up kind of like a small zoo, but all inside. So it's like, 24/7, we can use it all through the year. We've not got much outdoor space where we can run educational programs. We can support inner city colleges where they can't have animals on site because they're in inner city. So we used to bus them over to Telford and we do all their animal stuff and all their teaching in the education centre. We're a CIC, so we're a community interest company, a social enterprise. So we wanted to be really like part of the community, working with obviously young people, but also hard to reach groups, whether that's kids and adults with learning disabilities, where we'd run educational programs, therapy programs. And that was version 1. We had a big glass dome outside with a sensory garden inside it.
Wow.
And it was themed and looked amazing. You walk through the doors, you look left and there was a giant window with loads of caiman, like a type of crocodile swimming around. So it was an amazing place. And that was kind of what I had in my head. And it was kind of like, just closed and for just certain groups that we wanted to work with at the time. And that's where it started.
Yeah. That's nice, that is, though, that you just wanted to, it wasn't just like a money-making thing for you, like, oh, yeah, I can make big bang buck off this. Like, you're like, no, I want to help people. I want to help re-educate people about animals.
I think if there's one thing you need to know if you want to work with animals, it's not a big money maker. It costs a lot of money.
Yeah.
But it's not a big money maker. So it's I guess it's like being in the music industry. It's you do it because it's a passion, not because you think you're going to get rich out of it. Do you know what I mean? It's following your heart, following your dreams. I always say, I don't have dreams. I just have ideas of something I want to do, and then I do it. You know what I mean? A dream. If you dream about something, then make it happen. That's how I've always run my life anyway.
Brilliant. And what happened with that place then? Did it grow too big? Were you like, oh, we've got too many animals, we need to expand? You can drink your tea, by the way. Don't worry about it.
Is that okay? Can I
yeah, you can. Please do.
A bit slurping on the
podcast. And my podcast is very organic. If your listeners have been listening to the last 3 or 4 episodes, you know it's very. I recorded. Have you seen John Edwards, the guy that's going around cleaning all the signs around Shropshire? He's got like the muscle T-shirt on, and he's cleaning signs, cleaning graffiti. He's doing an amazing job. He's on the last podcast we just released. But we recorded a podcast in House Coffee in Shrewsbury. I took my microphone home and went to transfer over the audio, and it just disappeared in transit. And I was like, oh, it's gone. So I had to re-record it. So like these things happen, and I'm very open about it because I feel like you got to be, haven't you? You know what I mean? So swig away at your tea. So this place in Donington.
Yeah. So it started off with a lot of speculation from everybody because I guess, I was still quite young at that point. I always have big ideas, and I usually have ideas that people don't understand or they think they're not achievable. Whereas I'm the opposite. I just have an idea and I just know.
Photos.
I just know I can make it happen.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So obviously I had to apply for licenses and stuff from the council. So you can imagine the licensing officers and people high up at the council coming to this industrial unit that they'd rented to me, and then me going, so what I'm doing is going to be crocodiles there, armadillos there, and you could just see their faces just like dropping and thinking, oh my God, what is happening?
What are the permits and stuff? Yeah.
Thinking about the liabilities, and then so the crocodiles there, the young kids are going to be here. Do you know what I mean? So to begin with, I guess I kind of probably scared people to begin with, and
I don't know though, because I mean we're in Telford, not a lot happens in Telford. I'm from Telford. I can say this, but it doesn't, And when something does start making noise, you've got to be able to sort of break the boundaries first, haven't you? You've got to be able to say like, no, we're doing something a little bit different.
Yeah.
And then we're going to, do you know what I mean? Like, you've got to be bold enough to make those decisions to start off with.
And, different is exactly what I like to do. So there was that kind of a rocky start where it was kind of like, setting this up with no money. I was starting to teach in schools and do some therapy and stuff out of the location that was bringing in funds that were then helping to kind of like pay to build it and stuff. So it was, it wasn't like I've been given money to do it. It was very organic, very like looking every week like, oh, we need to rock work this, but where's the money coming from? Do a job, rock work. And
how did you get the
organic.
animals? Where did you source them from?
So
how did you get a caiman crocodile?
The one thing I am really good at is making friends, networking with people.
Yeah.
So I just spent a lot of time before I did it networking with other zoos, other collections, telling them what I was going to be doing. A lot of people were very open and give me a chance to go and work with them and see their zoos and stuff, and kind of like give me this extra information that I kind of like needed to start the journey. And then animals were coming from surplus from other collections and stuff, so that helped me to start to grow it to begin with. So that part was really handy. But building this big 2-story education centre from nothing was quite daunting at the time. But what I did do was everything that I said to the council at the beginning, I'm going to be doing this, I'm going to be working with these people, although they might have been a bit, apprehensive to begin with. I proved it again and again and again. Did what I always said.
Mate, just invite them to one of your, I've seen your education classes, they're great. I mean, you're like passing, you're showing a millipede around a group of kids and like, ew, no, those like really like visceral, natural, organic reactions that they get from these animals, a tarantula or something. That's what it's about.
Yeah, and this is where we do it. This is the classroom here. So it's a themed, engaging room. So a lot of the time it is taking kids out of the classroom, bringing them somewhere engaging, learning outside the classroom. There's so much more. They absorb the information so much more when they're somewhere new, somewhere engaging. So that's kind of like what we're trying to provide, and that's what I was trying to provide at that time when we were just an education centre.
So what happened to that place? And did you feel like you were impelled to sort of move and make a zoo like you had in Prisley, or?
So day one, it was just me on my own. Obviously, I couldn't afford staff, so I'd be in in the early hours, cleaning out the animals, feeding the animals, answering emails, answering phone calls. Then it'd get to the beginning of the day. Then I'd be out working in schools, or schools would be coming to me, and then I'd be back. And then in the evening, I'd be looking after the animals, feeding the animals. So it was very intense to begin with, but it was, obviously, as you know, if you want to start something new, you have to put the time and the effort in. If you're not willing to do that, it's not going to work. So that was how it started. And then while we were still there, I was lucky enough to be doing well enough that then I started to take on staff. So I took on some education staff, and then I took on a receptionist that was kind of like dealing with the admin and calls, which I hate. And so that was one of the first things I was like, let's get this out of my thing. That is not my bag. I'm very much about, if somebody can do something better than me, I'm not precious about it. I'd much rather have somebody that can do it better than me.
Yeah, sure.
And that's totally fine by me. And I think probably the main thing that started off was my receptionist was so sick of people calling the phone every 5 minutes saying, oh, can we visit Exotic Zoo? Can we visit Exotic Zoo? And of course, at that time, you couldn't do that.
No.
Is it still recording?
Yeah, it's still recording.
I'm worried.
I had this mic live, and I was like, what was the point in having that ambient sound in the background? Sorry, man.
I was worried that now you've said about it deleting after your.
Oh, no, there's only twice that a podcast, no, 3 times actually, that a podcast doesn't work. In the
worse, Alex.
560 odd episodes we've done. Yeah, we're good. We're good.
Yeah, and I think all I kept hearing was, we've had 30 phone calls today of people asking if we can visit. We've had, and it was a daily thing, and it was getting more and more because we were doing something so unusual and also so community focused. We were in the newspaper all the time. We were always on the front page of the Shropshire Star. We were always, online and stuff about what we were doing, and we were always out with all these amazing animals. So I think people in the local community saw all these cool things and couldn't understand.
Just want to see your crocodile, yeah.
Just wanted to come see the crocodile.
Yeah.
So that kind of, I guess, started the process of thinking about, do we want to open up to the public? And in my heart at the time, it wasn't something that was on my radar. Do you know what I mean? Being open 7 days a week, 365 days a year sounded rather intense, having that control of booking in schools, booking in sessions, and being in control. And if you're not in a day, you're not in, then that's, so it was definitely do we grow? Do we get a zoo license? Do we open to the public? And then an opportunity come to move to Priorsley, to take on some more land, and to potentially then move the education centre, but also build a zoo around it. And I decided to do it, obviously.
What does a zoo license look like? How do you attain one of those? That sounds like something difficult to. Yeah, lots of forms, lots of red tape.
Yeah, it's run by DEFRA, so obviously they're quite a.
That sounds like some evil corporation. Sorry, DEFRA. I'm not just like, we are DEFRA.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes when you own a zoo, it kind of does feel a bit like that. DEFRA, if you're listening, I do love you really. And thank you for
You're not Abstergo, don't worry.
Thank you for my most recent zoo license. But yeah, no, it is an in-depth process, and so it should be. Do you know what I mean? If you're going to be in the care of, caring for hundreds of animals, people visiting, and them taking what you've told them or what they've read and what they've learned, whether they're taking that back with them. It does need to be controlled, and it does need to be heavily licensed. So that part is totally fine by me. I think it should, because it needs to be done properly. Zoos are very much a different place than they used to be. 100 years ago. 100 years ago at London Zoo, people were riding elephants and and stuff like that.
There's that picture of the guy in Ironbridge riding an elephant over the Iron Bridge. It's like, wow.
Yeah,
so you can go all out.
So animals used to equal entertainment. 100 years ago, that's what zoos were about. And I think, unfortunately, a lot of people maybe still think that that's the case. But it's so different now. Do you know what I mean? I see it day to day because I'm here, I'm running a zoo, I have to go through the licenses. And it's not about that at all now. It's education, conservation, putting out that right message. Animals don't come out of the wild to live in zoos. They're amazing breeding programs that are, keeping bloodlines alive, getting animals back out into the wild. And more importantly for me, supporting and helping to rebuild habitats, which is why most animals are becoming endangered.
This is why I was really excited to speak to you. As soon as Claire mentioned it, I was like, yes, we've got to do this. Absolutely. But like I mentioned to you very briefly, like a couple of years ago, me and my good friend Tom Bruno, who's in Vermont, we interviewed Carol Baskin from the Tiger King. And we got a lot of mixed reactions as to why we would do that. I was like, well, why wouldn't you want to speak to this lady? Not only she's part of the time, one of the biggest shows on the planet, but it's animal conservation. And like you said about the misconceptions about zoos and what people do, there was this program that sort of villainized everybody on it. It was just like a carousel of characters that they could just mold in any way they wanted to, right? But we made the conscious decision to just talk about conservation, and eventually she started weaning in bits about the show, but we wanted to talk about what she wanted to do. And eventually she was saying, we take tigers and lions from people that are mistreating them, we put them in our zoo. If they're not good enough to be released to the wild, then they'll stay with us. We'll nurture them. If they're good enough, then they can release to the wild. But most times they're domesticated. They can't be. So she's essentially trying to put herself out of a job. She's like, the more lions and tigers we get, the better, because we can just stop people from having them. That's the most important thing, conservation. But what you're talking about is really important as well, is rewiring kids' brains, making them care about animals, making them see that there is a caring side and a nurturing side to being a zoo owner or owning the zoo.
Yeah, well, I think, the generation at the moment is the first generation ever really where they can learn about these things, care about the things, and then spread the word on social media. Information's so accessible nowadays, but there's so much misinformation as well. So giving as many people as possible the right information, and hopefully they kind of like talk about it and teach other people about it. We've got such an important role now to give the new generation that tool to say, the things that we've been doing for the last 100 years are terrible. Do you know what I mean? Madagascar's lost 90% of its rainforest. Nearly all the animals there are endangered,
There's that bloody maniac in Brazil as well, knocking down all the Amazon.
The Amazon's disappearing. I mean, it always has. And sometimes it gets a bit better, and then somebody new comes in power and it starts to, get bad again. And at the end of the day, we live in a world where it's all about money, and the people at the top, that's all they kind of care about, really. So it's hard.
It is hard.
You can rewire young people's brains, but really we need to rewire kind of like the people at the top's brains maybe sometimes.
I think what it can do though is it can offer like a boost in sort of maternal and paternal sort of instincts when it comes to like caring for animals. I feel like if a young girl can look after a kitten well, maybe that sets her up to be a good mother. If a guy has a dog that he grew up with and it was the family dog, maybe he'll care about animals and then people a bit more. I don't know, like how that works, how that translates. I mean, maybe they'll, people. I have the best intentions when it comes to thinking about people, and I have this romantic idea of how people are going to be. Then they let me down.
People tend to do that.
Yeah, they do.
Well, I mean, there's a famous kind of saying that I hear people say all the time, and it's like, "Oh, don't trust somebody that doesn't like animals." And I kind of agree
I get
in a
that.
way. Do you know what I mean? Like, but I 100% agree. Do you know what I mean? People having animals around and caring for animals, it does bring out your care inside. And when you think about how you maybe talk to your dog or your cat, you talk to it like you'd never want anybody to hear you talk like that, or you wouldn't talk like that to anybody else, because it does bring out that kind of empathy and that kind of soft side in you.
The goats I was feeding earlier when I went for a walk around, guys, for about an hour or so, and there's the goats and there's the big white guy. He's like, "Hey, give me your food." And there's these little guys that are at the back, and I'm like chucking it over him because I'm like, let the other guys have a chance, and he's just like, "No, it's my food."
That's Philip. That's the dad goat.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And they were coming to get the food. He was like, "Out your way! It's mine." That is.
Yeah, he's quite good at that.
And the pig as well, the black pig. He was like snuffling around by the sides, and I was like, "Yeah, I've got some food for you." And he came over to me, and I was like, "I can't give this to his mouth, can I? Because he might bite me." And so I just dropped it on the floor because you just don't know, do you? But at the same time, it's just they're animals, you know.
Yeah.
How was an education for you? Starting off as zoo at Prisley, what was that like for you as a journey, I guess? Big sigh.
Big learning curve, because obviously from the education centre then moving up to a zoo, so now we're kind of almost running two businesses. We're running the education and therapy side, but now we're also running a zoo open to the public. So we were kind of running two intense kind of businesses, starting from scratch. So I'd just gone through the learning curve for a few years, growing the education centre and all the amazing stuff that we were doing there, to now starting a zoo and having to learn from the ground and start all that. So it was a daunting time.
And trying to do that while showing like game face, making sure that you look good. Because all it takes is one bad review or one bad photo. You know what I mean? Like you see all these pictures now and again of like it's cold little animal in the zoo, like in an enclosure, and then that's it. It goes and it goes and it goes like wildfire, and all of a sudden you get this bad. Like you've got to be able to, show that you're doing the job right as well. And it can't be that easy. I can't imagine it's that easy.
Yeah,
especially in the UK.
especially with with social media at the minute. People can take pictures out of context and stuff like that.
Sure.
I mean, like our animals here live banging lives. Really, they got their 3 square meals a day. All of them have got their outdoor enclosures that they can go into their fields, whatever. But then if it's cold and they want to go into their indoor bit with heaters and lamps and stuff like that, I think that their houses are probably warmer than my house is at the moment. So they've always got that option. They can kind of, if they're sitting outside in the rain, it's because they want to, not because they've been made to, for sure.
The ferrets I was looking at, not ferrets, what they're called, otters.
Otters. Okay.
Ferrets. I guess there's the connection there. They're chill. They are. They're so happy. They're just chilling out. They're looking at everybody. Then they run into the house and come out. Also, there's the like little foxes. There's one with a baby and
the genets.
Yeah. Genets. That's it. And proper chilled in their box there. That was really nice to see. You do take a lot of care into making sure that their enclosures are nice. And the armadillo as well, chilling under the lamp. And I was like, oi, come and say hello. And he's like, nah, I ain't moving from my lamp, mate. We've seen how cold it is.
Yeah. I mean, we always get commended when we have our zoo license inspections that how relaxed and happy the animals look. And I think it's from thinking about, the enclosure design and given that, the option to go off show if they want to, go somewhere warm, go outside, do a bit of digging.
Was that the same armadillo that you do with the shows, where you go around?
So, yeah, the armadillos that we've got now are actually the armadillos that we've had right from the beginning. So a lot of our animals we had from the beginning, like 15 years ago. So we've got a lot
from the Donington days.
We've got a lot of OAP animals here at the moment.
Wow.
So we've got a lot of like arthritis medication that costs hundreds of pounds.
I bet you'd be stuff. Oh, wow, I thought you were being like jokey, but that's
No, that's a fact.
Wow.
which then brings us on to the sad thing that we've worked with these animals for 15 years, and a lot of them are now towards the end of their life expectancy. So,
and that's the thing when you work with zoos, farms, things like that, they're animals, and death is obviously a necessity. It happens, dealing with that. What's that been like for you? Because when a pet dies for someone, it's traumatic, isn't it? I've seen some awful things growing up with pets, but you got lots of them, and I dare say you care about them deeply.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like you said, I kind of spend more time with the animals than you do with your family sometimes. It's just like with any work. Sometimes you spend more time with your work colleagues as you do with your family, and the animals are kind of like our work colleagues, I guess. We spend a lot of time with them. We've been through them with good and bad. And I've got there's a marmoset that was very, very poorly and ended up coming home and hanging out and sleeping in bed with me while I drip fed it tiny bits of water for weeks, and because the prognosis was it's probably going to die, and I thought, no, it's not. You know what I mean? And that monkey's now 10 years later still here, happy as Larry.
What's his name?
So that's Rosie.
Rosie,
the common marmoset.
Wow.
So when you go through things like that with these animals, and then they see you now, because I'm the owner of the zoo. Gone are the days where I'm looking after the animals all day. I do all the stuff, the creative stuff. And
you've come in right from you've been doing errands today, and I know you came in and they're doing the Halloween lighting, so you've gone and sorted that out. Then you got a podcast guy to do with, and you got this over there, so you're everywhere, aren't you?
Yeah, exactly. So my interaction with the animals now has totally changed. I don't spend as much time with the animals as I used to, or as much as I'd like to. Can you hear the kookaburra laughing in the background?
He's like, yeah.
So I don't have the interaction with the animals that I used to, which I guess if I'd have told myself that 15 years ago, I'd have probably thought, well, that'd be a disaster. I'd hate that.
But maybe you take it, maybe at some sort of point, maybe you're taking it for granted being around the animals. Now it's kind of like a joy to see them again.
Yeah, exactly. And when I do go down, Rosie the marmoset, who I nursed back to health 10 years ago, she still sees me and has, in my eyes, a big smile on her face. She's always excited and happy to see me, even though she might only see me, once a month or something like that.
They got long memories, then, marmosets.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah, definitely. Because if
nice.
they don't like you, they remember that as well.
Brilliant.
But actually, even though that would have scared me then, thinking, you know, the bigger we get, the less I'd get to work with animals. Actually, now I'm here. I don't regret it, or I don't, you know, hate that I don't work with the animals, because the stuff that I do, I've kind of grown into it, you know. So I do all the creative stuff now. So I'm planning the events, I'm planning the new enclosures, I'm thinking about how can I excite the visitors that are coming next year. I'm designing, I'm building, you know. So actually what I'm doing now I love as well. It's just been another process, another part of the journey. Now I'm doing something different again.
There's a young lad, I took a picture with a chameleon that he had, with a big horn, and he was like, I was like, oh wow, has he got his favourite like zookeepers that he likes, that he prefers? And he's like, I don't know, this is my first time holding it. And he's holding it, and he's like, I saw him in the cafe afterwards, and he had these little pinch marks on his wrist, and he's like, oh, it looks like I've been bitten. I was like, oh, that's part of the job. He goes, yeah, it's ace, isn't it? Like, he was so happy that he got to hold this chameleon all day. That's really cool. The point is, like, you're creating a legacy. You're giving other people that opportunity to work with these amazing animals too.
Yeah. So I mean, because we started as an education centre, you know, I got teaching qualifications, and I taught some of the college students that were coming through to us from inner city colleges. So I kind of like saw firsthand from then, before we opened the zoo, how important it was and the benefits that the students were getting, especially the hands-on work with the animals, because, you know, you can sit in a classroom for 2 years and learn the theory, but unless you've actually been in there cleaning up the poop and getting scratched and bit by the animals, and, you know, that's when you really work out if that's what you want to do as a career.
No point in doing it for like 4.5 years and get bit by a pig and be like, I'm not doing it anymore.
Exactly. and then go into childcare or something instead.
Yeah.
So
from pigs to children, I don't know, maybe that's quite a natural thing.
So I think so we're, although we're now like a much bigger zoo, we're open to the public, and, you know, the education and the conservation is really important to us. I still always think back to the work we did right at the beginning, the education, the therapy, and we've never let that go. We've always made sure that that's been a big part of what we do, and it's probably a bigger part of our zoo than probably most zoos, and that'll never change. If anything, it'll just get
You're laying
bigger.
the foundations for a better understanding of the animals and how to care for them, I guess.
Yeah, so we have we have thousands of kids here from schools from all over the county that come, and they're learning parts of the national curriculum, which might be, you know, about habitats, conservation, all the science-based stuff. So we're giving them education, but in an inspiring and engaging way, where, you know, they're going to remember that because they've got to meet a tarantula, or they've got to, you know. I
was dreading coming today in a little way because I thought you're going to pull out a tarantula, and I was like, no, I'm all right, thanks.
Sort that out later.
No. Spiders, I always say I'm all right with spiders until they get muscles, get hairy, and sound like Arnold Schwarzenegger. Then I'm a bit all right.
You're not like him then. See, a lot of people.
I'm going to bench press you. Yes.
You probably don't want to visit here over Halloween then. But a lot of people, you know, sometimes we have people come in and say, I really want to get over my fear of spiders because, you know, I don't want to pass it on to my kids and stuff like that. And I've done a lot of work like that with people in the past. And once they meet a tarantula, a lot of them say, oh, actually, I don't mind the tarantula. It's the small, fast ones that I don't like, whereas the tarantula walking slow and all that, they're not too bothered about. But then once they met a tarantula and then they see the small one in the house, they're like, oh, actually, this isn't so bad.
I think it's the unpredictability of them. I mean, frogs, for example, right? Frogs are fine. I'll hold a frog. I have no problem with them at all. It's when they jump and it makes me jump. That's the thing. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of like, oh, okay, I'm going to get the frog, like, you know.
Did you see our frog the size of a dinner plate?
I saw him.
Yeah, you'd know about that if it jumped off you.
Yeah. Powerful legs, isn't it? I remember seeing a thing when you went from Prisley to here that there was a rally round to sort of help save you guys. Was that correct? Were you guys struggling a little bit?
So what happened was we built a lovely zoo at Prisley. It
really was nice as well. I remember I went down there a few times.
So same again, it was just an amazing chance for me to use my creativity. It wasn't a huge space, but I'm really good at kind of like designing things and breaking it up to make it feel a lot bigger than it is. Loved that space, but then it come to a point where we were going to lose the land that we were on, which also coincided with the pandemic about to start. So we'd come to this thing where we had to demolish a zoo, which was a lot more expensive than I had imagined.
Oh, no.
We had to build a zoo, and we had to do it over the pandemic where there was no money coming in.
And not just that, you can get people out to do the stuff. Yeah.
No. So like we were in this crazy situation where could we do it? Could we carry on? Could we actually demolish and build a new zoo? We were very lucky that because I'd spent so many years, making the connections and working so closely with the council and all of the hard to reach groups and all the school kids, we had a really good place in the council's hearts and the local people's hearts. So as soon as we had got to that thing where we were losing the land we were on, luckily, we were really blessed that the council come to us and said, stop worrying, come to the town park. We'll get, come and be part of the town park, come and make it, even more amazing than it is. Which, if I could have said right at the beginning, if you could build your zoo anywhere, where would it be? It would have been in Telford Town Park. Of course it would.
Yeah, I mean,
Telford.
When I was a kid, we used to come around Town Park, pretend we were dinosaurs, Jurassic Park, all that sort of stuff when we were kids. It's the perfect place for feeling a little bit wild and stuff because there's the pools, the lakes and stuff across the way there.
There's the thing where you can like the Go Ape kind of things. It's not Go Ape, but it's the similar type of thing. So you've got all that kind of stuff. There's loads of really cool stuff.
I remember going across the rugby fields here. I got bit on the leg by an adder or a snake.
Did you?
I think I stood on it and it bit my leg. We were running through. It was like they have two pitches, I think. One that they use and then one that they grow. Then one that I think they must switch. And us being kids, we ran across that field to get to the park from Dorley. And I got, I mean, there were like 2 marks on my leg and my leg was bleeding.
Yeah.
And I think I just stood on this snake in the long grass. I was just trying to sleep and I just stood on it. It's bit me. That was my first interaction with a snake. And what that did, that made me go, oh, there's snakes in England.
Yeah. Exactly.
And then it just gets your mind going. Exactly. I remember walking through Erddig Park in Wrexham. I had an Alsatian dog and the dog started going absolutely mental. Because I used to like throw water, like stones in the water, and then she'd go like an idiot, go and get the dog. But she wouldn't go in the water, and she was barking. It's because there's a snake in the water.
No way.
So it's like because it was a shallow stream. I'm like, oh my god, this stuff is happening around us, and we just don't know about it,
And that's what I love. That's what I love about all our visitors and the schools and stuff like that. Is that they're coming to us sometimes, and they've never even seen a cow before. That's how isolated some people are, and it's such a shame. And then when they come here and we're like, what reptiles do you think we have in England? Because maybe they'll have learned at school that, reptiles, are cold-blooded and they live in warm places. So they presume, well, we don't have them in England because it's always bloody freezing.
Yeah.
And so to be able to teach them about this and they're like, wow, like you said, we've got snakes in England and they can't believe it. And, maybe they'll leave and go out looking for, animals and they'll start to be a bit more aware of their surroundings, the stuff that's outside.
And not just that, we live in these concrete boxes as well. And like, I mean, my wife's from Bogota, she's from Colombia, and she's scared of spiders and moths and all sorts. But that's because they live in big, massive apartments where you don't see this stuff. Like you'd think in Colombia you'd be used to seeing stuff like that, but not in the city. Like,
and also they're surrounded by animals that are dangerous. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
When I've done some amazing adventuring over the years where I've travelled through rainforests and spent months in places like Madagascar and stuff like that. And that's the one thing that I always notice is the people that say like the tribes and the people that live in the forests and stuff like that. They're terrified of certain animals, even animals that aren't actually dangerous, because they've grown up knowing or being told, like, don't touch this because it could kill you, don't touch this. Or there might be kind of like, old wives' tales about stuff that's not necessarily true. So, I might bend down and pick up a giant millipede and go, oh my God, it's a giant millipede, which isn't dangerous at all. It eats dead leaves, decomposing matter, and they might be freaking out and they can't believe that I've picked it up and stuff like that, because in their culture that could have it's dangerous, it's scary. There's something they've been told about animals like that.
Souls to the damned or something. Yeah, to the,
who knows? So it is. You kind of think, oh well, if people live around them animals, they'd be really used to it and really relaxed around it. But it's not necessarily true like that.
Yeah, and that's where culture ties into the animals and the wildlife and our habitat around us. I mean, it's incredible how things change when you go from place to place, and that's not just like, I mean, places around Europe. I mean, just think across the way. On the continent, they've got a completely different habitats, different animals and things, And what's that stretch of like 40 miles of water? Like, that's the difference. And that's why I love what I do, because I get to find out about these things. Speaking of changing from habitat to habitat, how was the transition to here, building this zoo?
Wow, what a journey.
Because it is beautiful, by the way. You did a great job.
Thank you very much.
Set it out.
I mean, I still look now most days and think, how how did we manage to do it? Because, we're on a big, 6-acre site here. It's kind of full of buildings and amazing themed rock work, enclosures and stuff like classrooms, cafes, natural history museums, woodland walks and stuff like that. And I 100% look and think, wow, I literally can't get my head around how we did it. Because at the point we lost the last land, we had to build this with no money in the bank, no money coming in, massive overheads, because if you're a zoo, if you're closed, the electric still has to be on, the staff still have to be here to feed the animals still have to be fed, they still have to go to the vets. The huge, massive overheads, the hundreds of thousands of pounds a year, they continue whether you've got 1 million visitors or no visitors. And we were in the thing where we had the massive overheads and we had 0 visitors for 2 years.
Oh man, that sounds painful.
It was intense, but we had an amazing team. The staff here have all been with us for, some of them forever, since the beginning. Once people work here, we've got an amazing culture at the zoo, so people tend to stay here forever, which is really, really good. And I love that we've got a team that all get on and work with each other long term. So I think it was just a combination of everybody just really working hard and being creative. I'm very good at being creative and doing a lot of work ourselves. I put screws through my fingers while I was on scaffolding in, rooftops in barns and all sorts of stuff. And I've got plenty of.
I was walking around earlier, and I was really blown away by the work that you guys are doing. I was trying to record videos with the what are they called, meerkats, and there was zzz in the background. I was thinking, I can't wait for that to go. But then I was like, so drilling in the background as I'm walking around trying to get videos. But I feel that is a sign, a really, really encouraging sign that they're making improvements and building more enclosures. You know what I mean? That's where I saw I was like, actually, no, that's a good sound to hear.
Yeah.
That was a video of me earlier, by the way.
I mean, the staff will always tell you I'm a nightmare. As soon as one thing's coming to an end, I've already got the next thing started, or, we're not short of ideas, but I'm really passionate about, as the visitors come back, I want it to be as big and as the best it can possibly be. I want it to be engaging, people to be exciting. If I've got an idea, I want to make it a reality so people can see what's inside my head. And I'm always trying to get what's in my head out into the zoo. And all my staff are always like, we never understand what you're talking about, but we do at the end when it's finished. And
can someone translate this from Scott to English, please? Like, we're going to have to think. And what are you building there, by the way? What are you building there? So
we're putting an extension onto our Natural History Museum, which I think is something we should definitely talk about, because you mentioned dinosaurs earlier. I'm a big dinosaur fan, and what I think a lot of people don't know about Exotic Zoo is the idea behind Exotic Zoo that's not really even come to fruition yet, but it's been 15 years in the making. And that my idea when I knew we were going to do a zoo open to the public was I didn't want it to just be a zoo, it had to be something different and unusual. So I wanted it to be a mixture of a zoo and a natural history museum, my two favourite things. So for about 10 years, I worked on building up a collection. We've got about 5 complete dinosaur skeletons.
That T-Rex skull you've got there.
T-Rex skull. That's amazing stuff. So I spent a lot of time behind the scenes, my own personal passion, collecting this natural history collection. I flew around the world picking stuff up and doing all this stuff to get this collection, which nobody knew about at the time. It was just bubbling in the background. And then 2 years ago, we opened our first natural history museum, which is amazing. It's a journey from the beginning of time when the world was created, and you follow the timeline through the museum, and you can kind of look up in the cabinet, see all the fossils of all the amazing animals that have come before us. And the reason that I wanted to do that idea, and it sounds so simple when you say it out loud, but nowhere does it, is I think to understand the world today and the animals that are here today, if you can understand how the world was created and the animals that have come and then gone extinct and new animals that have come and how they've evolved, it makes understanding what's around today and what could happen in the future so much easier to understand. There's been like 5 mass extinctions already, so these things happen, things change, animals change. And I really wanted, when people went around the zoo, to kind of leave with not only like, wow, we live in an amazing world now, but to think, wow, the world's been amazing for, millions, hundreds of millions of years, and to really get it. And that's kind of the journey that we're on now. So we've got the Natural History Museum. We're just starting to install natural history collection through the zoo. So you might have seen the crocodile and then turned around and saw the museum cabinet behind you with the crocodile skeleton, all the skulls.
Yeah.
And they're not just there for no reason. There's amazing.
Breadcrumbs.
They're information boards, explaining why their teeth are like that, why the bones are structured like they are, so you can understand what's inside the animal as well as what's outside. So that's one part of the natural history, all the skeletons and stuff of modern animals. But then when you go in the museum, you can learn about all of the old extinct stuff. And the whole reason that I spent 10 years without opening it was I was gutted when I found out that Dippy the dinosaur from the Natural History Museum that I loved when I was a kid was just a cast.
Yeah,
it's like, I used to look at that thinking that was inside a real dinosaur once. So I was really passionate about when people walked into the museum, I really wanted that genuine dinosaur skeleton, which the first one you see is a Psittacosaurus, 100% complete. It's got a model next to it that's meant to be the world's most accurate dinosaur model. And they're looking at each other and you can see the skeleton was what was actually inside that dinosaur 125 million years ago. Yeah. And then the model, because they found one fossilized with skin and quills and colors and patterns, that's exactly what it looked like pretty much on the outside.
We can do a whole podcast about that. And I would absolutely love to do that, genuinely. I remember when I came here with my son for a birthday party, I sort of veered off into the natural history because the kids didn't want to look at that. They wanted to look at the bunnies and stuff, Yeah. So I was in there and I was reading the board from left, the whole thing from left to right. And I was just like, oh my God, this is incredible. Oh my God, this is incredible. And people were like going, Alex, come on. I'm like, wait there. Oh my God, this is great. I'm reading all this information. My watch is telling me to get up and get moving on. We're podcasting, man.
We'll go for a little jog around the town park in a minute.
yeah. I love that though. I love that you're trying to give those little bits. I love when you talk about evolution, dinosaurs. They found that giant skull, didn't they, in the cliff face and the south of England, and they tried to get it out.
Steve Etches, out the giant.
I love stuff like that. When I went around Shrewsbury Museum, we did like made some like content me and Timmy did years ago. It was amazing. I was going over the bridge with my camera and somebody on the Sabrina boat going under went, here's a biscuit underneath. It was so funny. Anyway, I found out that, a lot of rocks up in like Cardinal Valley and stuff are like seabed. Yeah. Like from where we were under the water because we were like part of the Mediterranean, and then we were under the ocean at one point, and we've slowly moved up north, and that's incredible to know that Shropshire was once an ocean. Well, that's incredible. Like,
why don't we do a dinosaur episode one day, and I will take you to somewhere in Telford where I can guarantee you'll find some fossils.
That'd be amazing because I've got the H6. We can do mobile stuff. We can do.
And I'll take you somewhere where we can find some real fossils.
Dinosaurs in Shropshire.
People just don't realise that there's fossils everywhere. And I love that, and that's part of our museum. Is I've got a display about all the different places you can find fossils around here and what tools you'd use because kids love fossils. Go and find your own fossils. Do you know?
Yeah.
That's kind of my thing. So the big bit of news that nobody knows yet is something exciting's happened today.
What? Okay, are we going to get an exclusive on the biscuit?
This is 100% an exclusive.
Oh my God, the Shrewsbury Biscuit. I love this.
So I'm so passionate about the museum growing and being a new part of the zoo. I want it to be 50-50 eventually. We today have had a full-time paleontologist start at the zoo today. So I don't know if you saw the chap in the office. And that's Tom, and he's our new paleontologist.
Wow.
So you
got someone that can literally give the stories and facts about how things have evolved.
Well, check this out. He was the creator of dinosaurs at the Wyoming Dinosaur Center in America.
Wow.
He's just moved back to England, and now he's our full-time in-house paleontologist. So.
Can we organise a podcast with him?
100%.
In the future? I would love
We'll link it into the fossil hunting day.
Fossil hunting.
Amazing.
Wow. Let's get winter out the way. And in the spring, we can go fossil hunting. That'd be great, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
I think
amazing.
so.
Yeah, let's do that.
And, we've got Halloween coming up as well. I've just walked around your cemetery, as you just saw. I made that video. Was that video okay, by the way? Because I was just like, I'm kind of poking fun at the zoo, but in a fun way.
No, I loved it.
You loved it?
Yeah. And if it means that a few more people come to see Halloween at Exotic Zoo, then that's also amazing.
It's all about getting kids in and finding a way to marry up. Obviously it's like a seasonal thing, Halloween, but if it gets to inspire them by looking at the marmosets or even the owls, talking about how they used to be dinosaurs and things like those little facts that can maybe inspire them to go into maybe paleontology, maybe to become a zookeeper, maybe one themselves one day.
And I do feel that we do engage and spur a lot of kids on to kind of look into a career and something that they're excited about. And I think the museum's going to be really good because a lot of kids are into,
I love that you're focusing on that as well. That's really good. Yeah. I love that anyway. I think that's great. I went to go in there, and then I couldn't go through the other end because it used to be the exit, but they're working on it. I was like, that means something good's coming.
Yeah, so that's basically for our new paleontologists. So that's going to be a fossil prep lab in the science area. So that's be where he'll be prepping fossils and mounting stuff and getting stuff to go in there. We're going to be doing interns and teaching people how to.
Are you going to get fossils. DNA out of a mosquito and create your own dinosaurs? I mean, that's.
I'm thinking about it. So back to Halloween. Let's give it a little push, but also tell you why we're doing it.
We're doing it
differently this year. So we, we'd always do pumpkin picking in our haunted woods and that kind of stuff. But this year we're actually doing a nighttime Halloween. So we're opening for 4 nights, 2 Fridays and 2 Saturdays, and doing a exotic boo instead of exotic zoo. Do you like that?
I do like that. I do like. Who came up with that?
Me, of course.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I believe you.
If somebody else did and they're listening to this, I am sorry, but I do have a bad memory. So
it's mine now.
So it's kind of like a boo at the zoo kind of thing, where it's not a scare fest thing where there's going to be adults and there's going to be people with chainsaws. It's kind of like a step down from that, where it's more for families, but it's still the same kind of thing where they'll be able to go around the zoo at night and the haunted woods. There'll be some live actors. We're doing trick or treat indoors, so that if families don't want to do it in the streets, they can come and have a little go at it here.
Oh, nice.
Treats and that kind of stuff. Whenever we do something, we always try and think about, how can we make it family friendly, make a safe space for people to come, whether it's Halloween or Christmas and that kind of stuff. But I don't know if you've seen in the news over the last couple of weeks, like, Payne Zoo's up for sale, Newquay Zoo's up for sale, all the big zoos are making redundancies and having to save millions of pounds. Loads of zoos are closing down. So I think it's an industry that's really, really in suffering and in dire need of support.
Which is a huge shame because, we talked about, encouraging empathy over apathy and compassion when it comes to, animals. I remember speaking to Niall McCann, who's a great guy, National Geographic explorer, talking about trying to save the elephants, things like that, and how important it is to ingrain in young people. I remember we had this massive conversation about plastic grass and how bad it is for the environment, and how does that teach kids to look after their garden and nurture nature and stuff. Like, we had this massive conversation, and it starts at a very, very young age, and I feel like you got to do that for the kids. I mean, I feel like things are going to bounce back. I feel like we're in a very turbulent time at the moment for things with education, science, things like this, especially over the pond. But I feel like there's a time for bounce back, I reckon.
I hope so. I mean, the thing that's happened since the pandemic is that, as everybody knows, the cost of living's gone like that.
Yeah.
And, for a zoo, the main thing that we need is staff. Because AI isn't going to be being the new zookeeper. You need real people.
Yeah.
And staff costs have gone up because the cost of living's gone up. Electricity costs have gone through the roof. Well, all of our animals, from rainforests and deserts, they've got whole rooms that are heated to 100 degrees sometimes and stuff like that. So our costs since the pandemic have just spiraled out of control, which will be the same for all the zoos. And over the winter when you're quiet, them costs go up more because you need more electric,
more heating,
blah, blah, blah. There's no way to save money, but one thing that we're, as a social enterprise, we don't want to just keep doubling our prices. We can't do that. A, people won't come, and B, that's not what we're about. We're a low income.
We've already discussed that you're not about the money; it's about the education.
Yeah, but and also we want to be accessible to people on low incomes, hard people using their personal budgets from hard to reach groups and stuff like that.
Yeah.
We don't want to price people like that out. So my job is really thinking about how can we be sustainable and still bring money in without putting up the price. Do you know what I mean? So thinking about obviously people buy stuff from the gift shop if they can afford it, or they might use the cafe, or we try and do stuff like sponsorship around the zoo for corporate sponsors. It's something we're about to launch, and hiring out this space maybe to companies to come and do a training day with their staff, but it might include going around the zoo and having a bit of an animal.
You send people out to fates and stuff as well, don't you? You have is that you guys that have the stand?
So we go out. So we still go out to some schools with the animals. We try and do everything at the zoo. The reason that we still go out to some local schools is because the cost of coaches is now way more expensive than it costs for them to come to the zoo. So for some schools,
they can't
it's not financially viable. So we haven't taken away that thing of going out to local schools, because I kind of want to be able to still give that experience to people, even if it's not.
So grab a snake,
affordable.
grab an armadillo.
So we grab a couple of the animals that enjoy hanging out with us and go and do them lessons that fit in the national curriculum wherever we can. But if we can, we try and get kids here because, like I said, learning outside the classroom is so much better. It's so important.
And so you're a CIC. I used to be a CIC, not anymore. I know that just relies on funding alone, mainly. Is there anything that the listeners here that are listening can do to help you? Is there anything that you could do with?
Yeah, 100%. All we need is for people to just visit us and support us and come and enjoy what we're doing. Do you know what I mean? That's the thing. If we've got people coming through the door, if you want to come and do something fun for Christmas, check out like our Christmas village. This year we're doing something brand new for Christmas too. Because like I was saying about that, it's getting so hard to survive and be able to afford to run as a zoo. We're having to think of new things. So this year we're doing the boo at the zoo in the evening. So hopefully that'll bring in some more money for Christmas instead of just doing the daytime thing. We're opening the zoo in the evenings through December as well.
Yeah, like Santa's Grotto and stuff.
So we're going to do a whole Christmas village. So the whole top
nice.
part of the zoo, where we're sitting now, is Santa's Grotto. The big man will be sitting right here.
No way.
Probably where you're sitting.
I've just got chills.
But it's going to be the whole this part of the zoo will all be lit up at night with big Christmas trees, Santa's Grotto, traders, so you'll be able to buy things. The candy cane cafe, as it'll be turned into. So same again with like the boo at the zoo. We're trying to make a really family friendly Christmas village where people can come in the evening, have that Christmas spirit and cheer, see Santa in a cost effective way. So yeah, just following us online and seeing what we're doing, and maybe supporting us. That's really the best. That's what I really want people to do, because then they're benefiting from it as well by supporting us, by visiting. They're getting something out of it, and it's helping to support the zoo.
Get following on social media as well, Exotic Zoo, and then it just comes up as Telford. I just found you guys on Instagram. I think I was following you anyway. Whenever I go around places, I would come on there with my kid, like I said. I was like, oh yeah, I've got a podcast. Do you want to do the thing? But like, I never really sort of thought about reaching out, because I never like to overstep and stuff. Do you know what I mean? But I'm glad that Claire made the connection for this week, and thank you so much because I was like, do you want to do something later? And you were like, yeah, okay. I was like, okay. And my son's really gutted, by the way, because he was going to come with me. I was going to sort of like hint to doing something in the afternoon and then come round, but I've got Lucy Cadell coming around later, and I was like, so I'm going to have to go while you're in school, kids. I'm really sorry. He's like, I thought we could go on the zoo together. So I'll have to bring him again sometime. Maybe he can come on our dinosaur trail.
Yes, come and meet the new paleontologist.
Yeah, or I can feed him to the meerkats. Brilliant. Follow these guys on social media. Get involved. Bring the kids. I just had a walk around for the Halloween stuff. They're still putting things up on. You're still putting lights up. Still not quite finished. But the cemetery they've put is so fun. Really is, and especially that at night time will be really, really good. So get the kids involved for Halloween. It's definitely something to do. I'll make a reel about it. I've already kind of half done it. I'll throw on some music. It's quite funny. So get involved. Support your local exotic zoo. Shropshire's really, I was going to ask you this, we've got a bit of time. Shropshire's quite lucky because we've got a few like little zoos like this. There's Who Farm, and then there's Park Hall, and there's yourself. Yep. Do you guys communicate? Do you guys like look at each other's zoos and look for ideas and inspire each other, or give it, or is it like dog eat dog?
I mean, I can't speak for the other zoos, but I mean, my outlook has always been, get on with your neighbours, get on with, the like-minded businesses, because, when we were struggling over the pandemic, we could help each other out. If a supermarket give us crates full of carrots, we can't use them all. So, I'd speak to all the other zoos and take stuff out. To me, I think that you get further in life by getting on with people and collaborating and stuff like that. So I try and work like that. And zoos as a whole in the UK, they all work really well together. The animals come from surplus lists. So, when we have breeding success, other zoos then can communicate with you, and, we'd like to have that animal in our collection. And that's where the animals come from in zoos in the UK. So working together, I go to conferences and workshops all the time, put on by zoos for other zookeepers so they can come and learn. So we're always working together to transfer information and knowledge and skills. So it is actually, people might not even realise that, but it is like a really nice networky kind of community.
That's good. I think that's really good, because if you got like an animal that's in need of help or something, and they've got the same animal, you'd be like, help! Like, how did you do that? How did you help this? Well, have you got anything any medication left over or something? I don't know how it works, but it's really good to have those people, I guess.
Yeah, networking is really, really important. And at the end of the day, all zoos are all working towards that same goal. We're not competing for visitors. We're all working together to try and
Well, luckily they're spaced out quite well, aren't they? It's like a triangle triangle of zoos, and you guys are like well spaced out. So people around Telford and stuff come to you. But you said you get people from all around the county, right? Come around.
Yeah, well, we have people come from all over the world, believe it or not, because we do. You know, people have been from far and afield from other countries to come and meet our capybara, or meet the otters and stuff like that. So we see people from all over the place. We love working with people in the local community and having that service and something local on people's doorsteps. But at the same time, we love bringing people out of the area and getting them to see, wow, Telford Town Park's amazing. The zoo's cool, but the town park's amazing too. I love being part of that as well.
Brilliant. Well, Scott, thank you so much for being so accommodating. The staff here are brilliant. They've been really looked after me today. And thank you for doing this for me today.
Thank you, Alex, and I hope you enjoyed your biscuit tea.
I did enjoy my biscuit tea. It was fantastic. I need a pack of this now to bring around with me for the future. Brilliant.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
Nice one. Right, I just hit record again because Scott here has just thrown an absolute, did you just say you were the Blue Peter's animal man?
Yeah.
What? We failed to mention this. I mean, we had so much to cover during. We'll throw this this is the outro. We'll just do this as the outro. You're the Blue Peter's animal.
I mean, there's probably a million things that we didn't talk about because, my life is very crazy. So when I first started the zoo, I always thought, do you know what would be really, really cool would be to be Blue Peter's animal man. And like I said, I think earlier in the thing, I don't have a dream and think, that'd be a dream. I always think that'd be cool, and I make it a reality. So the whole dream thing isn't really in my vocabulary. So I was just like, I'm going to do that. I'm going to be that. Because you see all the old clips of the elephant pooping on the show and all that, that are viral back in the day kind of clips and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. I thought I'd love that. Do you know what I mean? Because my whole thing is teaching young people about animals. But if I was doing it on Blue Peter, I'd be teaching thousands and thousands of kids in one hit. So I just kept sending Blue Peter emails and letters saying, if you need somebody on the show to do this, something with animals, talk about this. And I just get every now and again, I just send an email, and then once somebody messaged me back and went, okay, yeah, we're going to get you on the show. Thanks for keeping in touch and all that. Went on the show, got on with the crew really well, did a show. A couple of months later, did a show, and then I've just become part of the family, and I've just been doing shows for about 10 years now.
Wow.
So I've been on Blue Peter.
So those when they're on the surface, what have you got there, Jenny? This is a stick insect. How long do they live for? That's you.
That is me, yeah. So I've got a pint glass at home full of Blue Peter badges now.
Wow. Right, well, that's a great way to end it. And but what we're going to do is we're going to do a Telford Exotic Zoo featuring Scott, Chapter 1, Volume 1. Yeah. Volume 2 is going to be dinosaurs in Shropshire with Scott.
Yeah.
Volume 2.
And our new paleontologist, Tom. I think we need to include him in that.
This is going to be a whole anthology of you. Great fact to end with.
Always happy to talk.
Right, now we are actually going to go. Right, okay. Bye.
Thank you so much to Scott. Thank you again to Claire. Thank you to all the staff from Telford Exotic Zoo for being so accommodating. I had a really good time. I got to chill out with the goats. I was teaching the fat white goat a lesson by throwing all the food at the back for the smaller ones. So yeah, a really good day. Make sure, if you're looking for something to do with the kids for Halloween, go to that zoo. Honestly, it's amazing what they've done with the space that you saw. I mean, check out the reel that I made. Such a fun reel, honestly. I get very self-conscious when I've got when I'm doing live videos or recording myself. I don't like looking like an influencer. I don't mean anything bad towards influencers. Pouting down the cameras and stuff like that. It's just not me. It's just not my thing. So when I'm walking around going, "Hi guys," with a cat, I was doing it in London yesterday. I feel like I'm one of them, but it's not. People want to know my stuff. In fact, when I was speaking to someone about my journey down to London and stuff the night before, and they're saying you need to vlog it. I want to know what it looks like. I want to know, and it's like, oh yeah, okay, I get that. Anyway, so I made a cool little reel where things went a bit spooky as I was recording a reel. Check that out on Instagram. And that's another great segue to say, guys, if this is your first time listening to this podcast, make sure you give us a follow on our social media. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, TikTok, and also you can find out everything you need to know about me from our website, which is the Shrewsbury Biscuit podcast.co.uk, and that's lovingly made for us by our sponsor, Web Orchard. If you need a website, they will make the perfect website for you. No matter where you are in life or what you're doing, they'll make something tailor-made just for you. So make sure you check out Web Orchard. And if you have, just on the string for this podcast, tell Pete that I sent you, right? So that he can give me a high five when he sees me, all right? Like, listen, I'm not going to ramble on too much. This was a great episode. I'm looking forward to what we're going to be working on with Scott. Next week, you've got Lucy Keddell, amazing artist, coming on the podcast. She's got so many amazing bits of advice and facts about her art and how she can help others with their art too, you know? Vibrancy and colour. That's what it's all about. Catch you guys on the next one. Thank you for tuning into this one. See you next time. Peace out.